Hello and welcome back to this 12th video in my Managing Stress Q&A series. So I'm going to take one more question, and this question is from Cindy. So Cindy says, Dr. Boys, I recognise that a majority of my stress I brought upon myself because I am an Olympic gold medalist in procrastination. Time after time I make things much harder and more complicated for myself because I struggle with doing the reports I need to complete at work, and also in every aspect of my life. I've been written up at work, and yet I continue the pattern of turning things in late and showing up late everywhere I go to. This starts almost every day with a huge amount of stress. My question is, why do I continue doing this to myself when logically I know it gives me stress and gets me into trouble? P.S. I have both your books. I think they're brilliant, but my ADD has made it difficult to complete them all the way and memorize what to do. Right, so thank you for this, Cindy. So it sounds to me like the little bit of extra information that you gave at the end of this about ADD is really kind of critical to this, because it sounds like the problems that you're having are related to that, right? So people can say ADD or ADHD, attention deficit disorder, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So in people usually associate this with kids, and ADD in women tends to be more of the inattentive type than the hyperactive type, and it tends to be less well diagnosed, right? So people that have got hyperactive type of ADHD are kind of climbing the walls. It's blurting things out. It's more obvious, whereas the inattentive type is often more subtle, and so people don't get maybe the help that they need or the diagnosis that they need. So one of the things I would suggest here is, I don't know if you've looked into it before, but do some Googling about the Americans with Disabilities Act. You are American. And see whether maybe that there are some accommodations that you can ask for with regard to your workplace, to see whether you can get a little bit more support for these things that do sound like they're related to ADD from the sounds of it. So people with ADD have difficulty with managing themselves in terms of deadlines and being organised and handling multiple instructions, keeping track of things, not forgetting things. Projects with lots of steps are often really difficult for people with inattention. So yeah, I would look at whether you're getting all the support that you need, because it sounds like that you are not. And you're clearly, this is a well-formed email. You're clearly someone that is a smart person, but it sounds like you need some more support to cope with this condition that you have. There are some things that you can do, and you might need a little bit of help to do them. So the tricky thing with this is that the skills that you need to overcome the problem and the problem themselves are kind of the same, right? So let's take the part that you said about showing up late everywhere that you go. So maybe what you could do is keep a bit of a record of the times where you end up being late, and try to figure out what the cause of it is. So what is it that's happening when you end up being late? Is it because there's 6 steps that you need to get out the door? And that you overlook, how you misjudge how much time it's going to take to complete the 6 steps? Or is it because you get distracted? Is it because, so when I say out the door, it could be out the door of your house to go somewhere, or it could be out the door of your office to go to a meeting or something like that. So imagine that you end up checking email 10 minutes before a meeting is supposed to start and get distracted on replying. So that might be a pattern that you notice, and then that's something that you can say, that you can plan around so that that's not happening. Or imagine that, let's say you know that you need to take a pen and paper to a meeting, or that you realize that you need to take your phone and it's not charged, or your laptop and it's not charged, or whatever it is. Actually go through and find the recurring patterns and what leads to you being getting places, and do some problem solving around those. So it might be realizing that you think you're going to get the 6 things that you need to get done in 10 minutes, but actually it takes you more 20 minutes to do those things. and there might be some practical things that you can do. Like, imagine if you're always losing your keys, right? Then you need a better system for where you put your keys, or sometimes you need workarounds, like you need some backup sets of keys, so that if you can't find one pair of keys and you're trying to get out the door to something, then there's another pair of keys that you can grab. Or sometimes even having like checklists, or with little kids where there's something that has multiple steps, they'll often like have visual cues, like for example for like brushing their teeth, or picking up their stuff when they've finished playing with it or whatever. You might have like little pictures with what the steps are. So you want to think about problem solving those recurring problems and that are leading to the being late, and just finding out what the patterns are, because there probably aren't that many patterns. Like maybe it's 10 different things or whatever that contribute to you being late. What else? The pattern of turning, and also the pattern of turning work in late. Like, what's happening that's causing that pattern? Is it because you're underestimating how long something will take? Is it because you're putting off, it's like social anxiety, that you're putting off getting in contact with someone that you need to get a piece of information from? Is it that you need some help, like breaking down the steps of what you need to do for that particular task? Like, that's the sort of accommodation that you can potentially ask for. So rather than just being given a task and someone saying do it, maybe you actually need some help from a colleague or a boss or supervisor or whoever it might be, to break the task down into smaller chunks with you. And if you've got ADD, then that will be something that maybe is a bit of a struggle for you. So figure out, and even like a therapist or someone like that would be able to work on this with you in a really practical way. So that would be I would take it out of the. So lots of people with ADD or ADHD will struggle with anxiety because of these patterns, and might sort of start to struggle with self-criticism and blaming yourself. But I would really take it all out of that domain and look at the root of the problem being difficulty with organizing tasks and those ADD type symptoms, and see how you go with that. And there may be some residual anxiety and things like that you've developed over time because of like embarrassment about these patterns, or as you say, that it's got to the point where you've been written up, and every day it's starting with a huge amount of stress. So you'll need to work through that. But I would take it from a really practical perspective and take all this shame out of it, and work on getting the support that you need and the systems that you need. You said that you have both of my books and you think they're brilliant, but it's difficult to complete them all the way and memorize what to do. You do not have to complete them all the way. So my books are written as reference books. They're books that are written, they're what you could do, not what you should do or you have to do. You can, as I think I've said it in one of the other videos, you can start really anywhere with them. Like, what you can do is, like, if you've got the paperback, you look at how many pages are in it, and you take that number, and you say it's 300 pages, and you say, okay, like, to your voice assistant, pick a random number between 1 and 300, and you might tackle just that little topic that you've randomly come across, and see how it applies to the current problems that you're facing. And you might have to sort of think about that creatively. Maybe not every single thing will work. So if something really doesn't work, just ask for another random number and start somewhere else. But you definitely don't need to complete them all the way. And maybe there's some thinking processes like that are contributing to the other issues too. Like, maybe you're thinking you need to be more comprehensive in the reports that you're doing than you actually need to be. Maybe you're thinking that you need to do like all of these things and they're not like the highest priorities or whatever. You might be sort of overcomplicating things in some way, or struggling to see like what the most important bits are, or whatever it is. I don't know. I mean, I don't know any of that about you, but what I'm saying is try and go to the root of the problem and find the recurring causal processes and problem solve those from a really practical perspective. But there could be some little thinking things in there as well. As I said, like some thinking things where you're having like exaggerated expectations or that kind of thing, because you definitely do not need to complete everything or memorize anything, right? The books are there, that you don't need to memorize it because it's right there for you. Okay, so thank you for that question, and I will see you guys in the next video.